the game. You don't play it, just play it. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm for you! Can't wait! Let's go!
I can't hear you. Patience, everybody. A little technical difficulties. Coffee and sports will get it together. We always do. So welcome to Coffee Sports in the Morning. I am Mo. That is Chris, and Chris is doing what he always does, coming correct, getting everything together. Every now and then, it's very rare. We have technical difficulties, but trust me when I say we'll pull it together and put on another great show. Big news in the NBA, big news in sports in general. Finally, James Harden gets traded. And I know somewhere my friends that are Sixer fans are breathing a sigh of relief and maybe celebrating. No, there's no maybe to it. They are celebrating in the city of brotherly love right now. And if I can remember correctly, I don't have the trade in front of me, but the Clippers are going to get James Harden. They're going to get PJ Tucker. I can't remember the third player, but he's more of a throw-in. And then when you look what the Sixers get back in return, I found that more interesting because they're replacing PJ Tucker, who is a 3-and-D wing, with 2 3-and-D wings. When you look at Nicholas Batum and Robert Covington, who had been on the Sixers before.
Can you hear me, Mo?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Mo, what? That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Come on now.
There he is, my guy.
That's crazy. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Come on now.
We've been waiting forever for this. Finally, the James Harden trade.
Oh, my God. You know, who makes trades at like 3 o'clock in the morning? What?
Daryl Morey's so sneaky. I think the trade was already settled, and he just sat on it for the longest time. And finally, he just woke up and said, "You know what? I've had it with James."
Mo, what did you think of the pieces that came over in the trade?
I think they're pieces that immediately you can plug in and play because you're getting back Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, both are 3-and-D wings. You're getting a young athletic wing in KJ Martin. So those are 3 players that can immediately get into your rotation and impact the game. Covington and Batum more so because they're veterans who can space the floor but defend at a high level. So I do like that. I was actually shocked, though. I was going to say I thought they would go after Norman Powell. Kudos to the Clippers for being able to hold on to Norman Powell. Clearly, the Clippers have committed to going all in by making this move because they're giving up a couple of first-round picks, a pick swap, 2 second-round picks. So this is really all or nothing right now. There is no future for them.
Any thoughts on PJ Tucker and is it Phillip? I don't know who that guy is. Who was the third guy involved in the trade?
I don't know the third. He's somebody who you couldn't recognize in a lineup. I hadn't seen him on the floor. I look, Tucker and Harden obviously are going to go right into the rotation immediately. So they will be impactful. The interesting thing I thought is in bringing Harden does that mean he goes to the bench or Russell Westbrook goes to the bench because they cannot play together? That can never work. They're both ball dominant players. They've tried playing together as teammates when they were both on Houston. I'm assuming Russ will be the 6th man because I can't see Harden's ego ever accepting that type of role.
Now, obviously, if you look at things in the immediate future, who wins the trade out of the gate. Because in when it comes to trades like this, Mo, there's two lines of thinking. There's a winner right now, and then there's a winner 2 to 3 years from now. Like, look at the Shaq deal with Los Angeles. When Shaq left LA, Shaq won right away. Right away, Shaq and the Miami Heat won that deal. But the Lakers knew 2 to 3 years from now, we were going to win the deal. And 2 to 3 years from now, the Lakers did win the deal because the Lakers got right. And then they got Pau Gasol and they won championships and they were okay without Shaquille O'Neal. But in the immediate aftermath of that breakup, Shaq won. So if you're looking at the immediate aftermath of this breakup with James Harden, who wins now and then who wins 2 to 3 years from now?
That's a tough one to say because the ultimate goal is to win a title, right? That's the ultimate goal. I don't know that James Harden helps the Clippers win a title, not because he can't still play. With the Clippers, Chris, you know this, first and foremost, are Kawhi and Paul George going to be available in the playoffs? Look, if health is not an issue, then they're title contenders, if health is not an issue. But with the Clippers, health is always an issue. So I'm going to say something kind of crazy and out the box. I think the Sixers win the trade right now. And because of the picks, they win the trade easily for the future. The Clippers have sacrificed their future literally. Well, they did it before with the Paul George move, obviously, because Paul George could have been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they went with Paul George. I think moving forward, the Clippers are going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch in the NBA because how do the dynamics work when you have a ball-dominant player like a James Harden with two wing scorers like a Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? I'm not sure Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's a natural fit watching James Harden dribble the air out of the basketball. I'm just being real. I don't know how that works. I know they say Ty Lue is a player's coach, and he seems to have a good rapport with Russell Westbrook, and they have a simple understanding. If Russ is struggling and he's having one of those high turnover games, he's going to be sitting right next to Ty Lue. I don't know if Ty Lue can have that kind of hook with a James Harden without losing him mentally going forward. So, like I said, Kawhi Leonard's ego, Paul George's ego, then you're bringing in James Harden. That looks really good on paper. And if James Harden is going to play point guard, it'll work out well. If James Harden is going to still try to be James Harden, the 20-plus scorer, that won't work.
It's going to be interesting to say the least, Mo. But at the end of the day, I have to sit on the side of I don't think the Clippers are ever going to be healthy enough for this trade to matter. We haven't seen it with them. We haven't seen it with Kawhi Leonard. Paul George, as his career has gone on, he has struggled with health issues more and more. And then James Harden, he has had some health bumps, not as many as the other guys, but he's had some bumps in the road the past couple of seasons. He's also getting older.
His biggest bump is his belly.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So, I don't even know how many games these three are going to play at the same time.
Look, that's the thing. I it as a basketball
20
fan,
games.
you hope for it.
Over under 20.
I hope 20.
You hope it's more, but
the under seems more realistic if you're looking at the history. I hope I'm wrong. Look, as a basketball fan, I would love it. I'm not rooting for the Clippers, but it's great for the league if they can stay healthy and they can go into the playoffs. It matters. But I'm looking at the Sixers, and I think they're the surer bet. And while those names that they got back aren't household names, they're role players that you can fit around Embiid and Maxey and make it work.
And let's be honest, Mo, the offense already looked better without Harden anyways. They already looked better on the floor when James Harden wasn't playing with them last season and this season. So by James Harden continuing to not play with them, and then they add these quality depth pieces to the mix, it should spell a better result for the 76ers. I'm not saying championship. I'm just saying it should be a better result on the floor, which is step one for them getting to where it is they want to go. Step one for us for continuing an awesome morning show here, Mo, is getting JG in here.
Always.
Let's welcome JG to the show this morning. We got baseball to discuss. We got some college football to discuss. We want to hear the things that JG has to say. JG, how are you this morning, sir?
Morning,
doing
JG.
good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Hey,
doing
no
well.
complaints from our end. Obviously, the Texas Rangers go up 2-1 last night in JG, a game that I have to call disappointing for the Diamondbacks because they get Scherzer out of there early, which obviously is the goal with whoever it is on the other side is starting a game in the World Series. You want to get them out early, force the other team in to go to their bullpen early and kind of change up what they have to do. And Arizona did that. Unfortunately, they still end up on the wrong side of a 3-1 final. So now they're down 1-2 heading into game 4. And like we talked about yesterday, game 3s, game 5s, those are critical momentum games because now if Texas comes out and wins game 4, now they have pretty much all the momentum in the World Series, and it looks like they're going to be on their way. So it's not a must win in game 4 for Arizona, but they're going to want to even up the series to force another big momentum game in game 5. So they do kind of have their backs up against the wall right now. So JG, talk to me about what you saw last night, and then talk to me about the odds of them coming out in game 4 and evening up the series.
Well, the theme for Arizona right now is your lost opportunities. Game 1, you had the lead against the 9th inning, and you gave it up with the Seager home run in the 9th, and then this Garcia walk off in the 11th, and then your first home game in the World Series this year, first home game since 2001. You have the excitement, the home field advantage, the crowd, and you almost put up a dud of an offensive performance. Even though they out-hit the Rangers, they didn't get that necessary hit, that big hit to open up the floodgates, which is what this offense does in Arizona. They're not the power-hitting team that the Rangers are. They're not going to rely on the long ball to kind of spark it. It's a double in the gap. It's a flare that kind of gets guys on base, and they just connect hits from there. They didn't get that last night until they got that one run in the 8th inning. That's the disappointment right now. Is you're supposed to be the momentum team right now. You stole home field in game 2, and now we're here in game 3. You kind of lay out a dud, which, as you said, everything laid out perfectly with Scherzer going out in the 3rd inning. And from that point, it was a bullpen game for the Rangers, and you couldn't put enough offense on the going to get runs across the board. That's a disappointment. So right now, if I'm Arizona, 2 of the 3 games, I let slip away opportunities to take control of this series. And that would be disappointing right now, especially for a young team. I think we're kind of seeing that a little bit too. As a younger team that is showing us inexperience at the plate, showing inexperience at the moments where you do still have guys. Scherzer being one, pitching last night. He's kind of helped with these guys. Evaldi, you have Seager, guys who have World Series experience, and they're keeping things calm. There's not a lot of World Series experience on the Diamondbacks team, except maybe I think Evan Longoria would be the only one, I believe, and I have to double check on that. But I think Longoria is the only one who has World Series experience on this roster for the Diamondbacks, and you're kind of seeing the inexperience taking shape right now. So if I'm Arizona, after letting, again, another game slip away, which was supposed to be my game, I look at game 4 is a must-win. It has to be a must-win for them moving forward because control the series, turn this into a 3-game series if you win game 4. Make it a 2-2, best of 3, go at it and try to win it. But you let an opportunity slip away that you had a chance to have control in, and it just kind of passed by. So disappointment I would feel right now in the Arizona Diamondbacks clubhouse.
JG, what the hell is going on with Craig Counsell? Never in my life have I seen a Major League Baseball manager who is currently with a team that he appears to like, and they appear to like him, and he's literally out there like auditioning for other jobs. He's openly saying he wants the Mets job. He's got another team that's interested in him. He's interviewing for Cleveland. JG, he has a job. What is going on with Craig Counsell? Why do these teams want him? And why are the Brewers allowing their manager to go out there and just openly interview for other teams?
Well, he is a good manager. That's one thing that these teams are inquiring about him. He's a good manager. He's done a great job in Milwaukee, turning that franchise right now into a division contender every year so far. So he's done a great job in there. I think at the same time, if I have to, speaking for him, and I don't like doing that, I think he does realize that there's a ceiling in Milwaukee, and he has reached that ceiling. Are they going to be a World Series contender? Probably not. At the same time, look at the 2024 roster of the Milwaukee Brewers. Number 2 pitcher, Brandon Woodruff, he's already out for 2024. Corbin Burns does not want to be in Milwaukee. He's battled arbitration with the front office, and he's been very public with his disdain on how they talk about him in arbitration. So he may not be on the roster. So your number 1 and number 2 pitchers may not be in pitching in 2024. You may have to rebuild your rotation at that point. If that's the case too, what happens to your bullpen? Because you have guys, Devin Williams, your closer. When you traded Josh Hader 2 years ago, very outspoken, saying that we have a contending team, and our front office gave it away, gave a chance, gave away opportunity. You talk about trading Corbin Burns and not repairing that relationship. How is he going to react? Is he going to want to stay in Milwaukee? So the pitching staff could be in shambles in that aspect of it, which if you're Craig Counsell and the pitching staff has been your bread and butter for at least the last 3 years, you don't want to be on this managing this team and trying to figure out how to handle this staff in a division that is wide open. But the Chicago Cubs surprised everybody and made themselves a wild card contender. They could be better in 2024. We don't know what St. Louis is going to be, but I can only imagine St. Louis will try to rebuild themselves to be a contender status in 2024. We're not expecting the Cardinals organization to be a last place team for quite a while. We have the Cincinnati Reds, young and exciting team as well. They're going to continue to get better. So this division is going to be wide open. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, I believe, in 2024. So if you're Craig Counsell, you look at it and say, maybe I can't win a World Series here. Is New York Mets the opportunity? Well, obviously, New York Mets is not going to be the opportunity because Steve Cohen said we're rebuilding for the next 3 years. That doesn't entice me. If that was the case, I'm staying in Milwaukee. If I'm Craig Counsell, I'm not trying to rebuild for 3 years and then be a contender at that point. Cleveland intrigues me because they underperformed this year, but they still do have good pieces. They have good players. You have Jose Ramirez in that lineup. You have a good pitching staff. I know Shane Bieber is probably not going to be how much Shane Bieber is going to pitch in 2024, or if he's going to pitch at all in 2024. We don't know that yet. But you still have some young guys, Tristan McKenzie in that rotation. Cleveland intrigues me a little bit. Do I believe, after kind of laying out Milwaukee's problems, do I think Craig Counsell returns to Milwaukee? I do. I think they do, and I think they're going to figure out a way to make sure the starting rotation is put together well to continue to be a contender in this division. But I understand Counsell's intrigue in other franchises and other organizations to look out what's better, because the ceiling he's reached in Milwaukee, it's not. I don't believe, and I don't believe there's a World Series ceiling. I think it's a division series ceiling when competing in the NLDS, and that's about it. I think he realizes that.
Ron Washington has been linked to the Houston job. Obviously, Dusty Baker retired. Ron Washington kind of cut from the same ilk, if you will, as a Dusty Baker type coach. Is this just a natural fit because Houston wants to have someone of that older baseball mentality, that old school mentality come in there? And Ron definitely fits that bill. Some might say that the baseball managerial game is trending younger, but Houston, JG, does not seem to be on that ball per se if they're looking at Mr. Washington, who is not a spring chicken. What do you think of the Ron Washington link to Houston? Do you think it's something that has merit?
The selfish Braves fan in me hopes he doesn't get that job. I love him in Atlanta. I love what he's done with the fielding of the infield and as a third base coach. So the selfish fan that I am as an Atlanta Braves fan hope he doesn't get it. But at the same time, yes, I think it's a good fit for Ron. So you said the trend of managerial jobs is going into the younger direction. Well, what has happened over the years with the Astros when they had a youngish? I know AJ Hinch is not a a young manager, but he's not Dusty Baker. He's not Bruce Bochy. He's not Ron Washington age. He's in that middle age, middle of the pack age-wise gap. Well, what happened under his watch? Well, you had the Astros cheating scandal. They went to bring in Dusty Baker, who is the epitome of stability and continuity and just understanding that we have to have a good image. Ron Washington will continue that. Now, Ron has had his own issues in the past. When he was with the Rangers job, he had the drug issues that he handled, at times that cost him. That essentially cost him his job with the Rangers. Eventually cost him his job with the Rangers. But he has cleaned his act up. He has handled himself very professionally over the years, and I think he deserves a managerial job. Again, being a Braves fan, I hope he doesn't get it. I want him in Atlanta for the rest of his career, but he deserves it. I think he deserves it for the job that he did in Texas, for the job that he had, going to back-to-back World Series, and just being a great players manager. I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, keeping the trend of the older manager for that franchise and being in a win now mode. That's what the Astros are. They're still in win now. We want to compete for World Series now, immediately, this year and the next year and the next year so far. So it does make a lot of sense for Ron Washington and why they are not going to the younger managerial trend. That could change. They could still interview some younger managers. They could still interview guys that they feel, a long-term now and long-term future sustainability. Whereas Washington, we don't know how long Washington's going to want to manage. We don't know how much longer he wants to be in this game. It could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, but it could be a shorter type of frame. Whereas if you want a manager who continues to success, and you have a managing for 10 years plus. And I don't think Washington's going to be managing for 10 years at his age. So it's a matter of keeping the window now that's in a win now mode. And that's what they're looking for. And if Ron Washington, who, as you said, is cut from the same cloth as Dusty Baker, it makes so much sense to bring in Washington to be around with that clubhouse and continuing that close-knit continuity that he excels with the players that he coaches and manages.
JG, last thing I want to touch on before you got here, a little college football stuff. And I know that Michigan isn't necessarily your cup of tea, but Michigan is ranked number 2 currently. They are 8-0 on the season, but nobody is talking about the on-the-field product. All we are talking about is Coach Harbaugh and the nonsense that is happening around that program. It started months and months ago with the recruiting violations, the alleged recruiting violations that supposedly at the most were meals. Like we were originally hearing that he was just feeding recruits and he was giving them quality meals in the building. And it really wasn't much more than that. But then he lied about it, and the way he lied about it and the attitude he had when he lied about it made it into a bigger thing than it should have been. And then that was resolved. And then that wasn't resolved. Apparently that fell apart. And giving hamburgers and cheeseburgers is a much bigger deal than we all thought. And then the new scandal comes out in Michigan with this sign stealing thing. But at the same time, JG, if you look at the NCAA rules, sign stealing isn't against the rules. So you look at it and you're like, okay, maybe he did send this guy to 30 different games to scout and steal signs, and that's kind of shady. But then you realize, even if it is kind of shady, there's no rule saying he can't do it. And who knows how it actually went, JG. You got this guy up there 80 rows up with binoculars trying to steal signs, something that anyone could do. He could probably do it better from his TV at home than he could in the game in person. And then you got Harbaugh like, I didn't know what he did. I don't know what he's doing, which we know is a crock of baloney. Then we got the report that they rescinded his contract extension. And then when Harbaugh was asked about it, his response is, well, I wouldn't say they did. What do you mean that you wouldn't say they did? He either did it or they didn't do it. So now he's being cagey with whether or not they took the contract off the table. And while all this is going on, JG, it is a national championship contending program. Let's not forget, this is a program that many picked in the beginning of the season to be in the national championship game. This is a program that Harbaugh, right or wrong, said was going to break the record for the most players drafted in the NFL draft in the first 7 rounds because of the talent on this team. And we all laughed and we made fun of him and said that number was insane. But this is the kind of talent this team has. And here we are entering the 9th game of the college football season. And JG, no one's talking about the team right now because of all of this. So I would love to hear your insight on the chaos that is happening with the Michigan program and the impact you think that this could or could not have on the field, because there's a certain noise around a program is one thing. This is more than noise. This is getting ridiculous. It's a circus right now at Michigan, and you have to wonder if this is eventually going to impact the team.
I will say this. I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Jim Harbaugh. And I never thought I'd actually say this, because I said with you guys before, I said in the mornings with y'all, my disdain for the NCAA. I've been very vocal on it, and maybe I should not be, as I'm hoping one day I could be a coach in college baseball in the NCAA. So maybe I need to kind of tailor my opinion at times. But the NCAA they deserve the mess that they're putting themselves in right now. And again, as you said, there's not a rule. It's not like the NFL where, Spygate for the Patriots was in essentially what Belichick and the Patriots were doing was the same thing. That it's not like there's a rule in this situation. It's the extent of what they went forth, and the media is creating this buzz about that's making it sound like, my God, this is bad. But at the same time, for Harbaugh giving the middle finger in every aspect to the NCAA, I am absolutely 100%. The recruiting issue that he had during the summer when I was the buying the burger, he didn't lie. He just didn't tell the lie that the NCAA wanted him to say. The NCAA wanted him to lie by admitting that he did wrong. But when he never admitted that he did wrong, it wasn't the lie. Then the NCAA was like, well, you're lying by not lying. And that's the stupidest concept that the NCAA is trying to. They're trying. Basically, when you're telling somebody you're lying because you're not lying. That doesn't make any sense. But that's what the NCAA is trying to do on Jim Harbaugh about that situation. And they put him under a microscope, and they're saying, well, we got to get him out because he is the challenger we don't want. And we're already dealing. The NCAA is already dealing with so much turmoil with conference expansion and changing, and the landscape of college football is going all over the place. Where you have teams in the West Coast and California going to the Big Ten, you have teams in the West Coast of California going to the ACC. It makes no sense whatsoever. The turmoil the NCAA is facing is absolutely it's to a record high, and they have to find somebody. Which Harbaugh is very outspoken. He's been very outspoken since he became a coach at Michigan about how the NCAA really is. They have to use him almost as a martyr in this situation. And Harbaugh don't care. He will be that martyr for in this situation. That's the beauty of this. He doesn't care because at the end of the day, he does know. And I hate that the NFL. I hate that the NFL came out and said, "Well, hey, if he does jump to the NFL, he can still face punishment." For what, though? What rule? Tell me the rule he broke that will say that the NFL deserves to punish him if he goes to the NFL. That doesn't make any sense to me, and I think the NFL, and shame on the NFL for doing that. So, in this sign stealing scandal, the teams knew about this. This has not been, oh, hey, this is breaking news right now. Apparently, almost every team in the last 5 years knew they were doing this. Why now? Why are we talking about this now? TCU got told, and guess what they did? Okay, they're going to steal our signs. We're going to screw with them, and by the way, we beat them. Oh, there's your way of handling this. Screw with Michigan and how they handled the sign stealing. Mess with their signs and mess with what you're doing, and you can actually beat them. So what's the problem? I think this is the NCAA just creating a storm to get Harbaugh out, and I agree. I will say. Leadership will prevent this as far as for the players. Leadership will prevent this from being an issue in that locker room. Will at some point can affect them? Yes. Will there be a game that they have a letdown and they may still win? And you have to question if is this going to be a problem for this team? Yes. At some point they will. Maybe it might be the Ohio State game at the end of the season. We don't know. But right now, it seems like the players are rallying around their coach. They're rallying around each other and making sure that whatever the noise is outside of that building doesn't affect how they are playing and how they are with each other. So leadership showing so far it's a positive. It's positive in that locker room that it may not affect them throughout, and they may continue win, and they just make this us against the world mentality for one more season, because I think they do know that Harbaugh's not going to come back next year as well. He's probably off season, so they know this is our last hoorah with our coach. We love our coach. It's us against the world. Let's go and let's make a middle. Let's go put our middle fingers up to the NCAA and say, hey, you're going to hand us the trophy at the end of the season because you tried to screw with us, and it's not going to be. It's going to be even more sweet that you have to hand us that championship trophy when it's all said and done.
100%. JG, we appreciate having you on the show. We will see you on Thursday, sir.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the knowledge, JG.
Mo, always great having JG here on the show. Let's take a quick break. When we come back from our break, I want to talk a little Los Angeles Lakers, and then I want to get into some NFL stuff, and we're going to do that right on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
What's up, everybody? It's Cottrell Simpson with Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, where we're going to cover all things breaking news, sports related. We're going to preview games, and we're also going to give you our reaction to the games that have happened before. You can catch us on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you miss us there, no worries. You can also catch us on Roku with Northeast Streaming Sports Productions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Hey, and listen, if you're not into all sports and just NFL, we have Sideline to Sideline. That's on Thursday nights from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. We'll break down the NFL week, the Thursday night game, and we'll preview all NFL action.
And if you're like me and college football is your fix, tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Coast to Coast College Football pregame show. We'll review the previous week's action, the day's biggest games. We'll give you our pick'ems, and we'll even give you some teams that are on upset alert.
And if you don't catch us live, you can download us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We do also have a YouTube station, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
And welcome back. It is the morning show. It is Coffee and Sports here on Sports Empire Network. I am Chris, and that is Mo. And Mo, I know that you're a Lakers fan, so I want to get your take on this, because when we came into the season, which was only 4 games ago, Mo, we heard all this talk around Lakerland that LeBron was going to be on a minutes restriction. They were going to work early in the season to limit LeBron's minutes, because they wanted to put LeBron in the best opportunity, the best position for the end of the season to make a push to the playoffs if needed, or if the playoffs were already well in hand, to have LeBron have that extra rest, the load management, if you will, without him actually missing games, to have him in the best position come playoff time. Because LeBron is 38 years old. He is going to be 39 in December. He is going to be halfway to 40 come playoff time next summer. They are realizing that LeBron going out there and playing 35, 36, 37 minutes a night, you're playing with fire. And it seemed like they acknowledged that coming into the season. They definitely had a plan game 1 coming into the season. I think he only played 27 or 28 minutes. He clearly wasn't happy with that. It didn't look like he was happy with the fact that he kept getting pulled out of the game to rest. But it is what it is. That's what the plan was coming in, and we figured they would eventually adjust, and it would be what it is. Game 2 rolls around, Mo. They got the one-man Suns, because it was just Kevin Durant out there. The Suns were missing 2 of their 3 big 3, and the minute restriction basically went out the window at that point. It was an undermanned team that the Los Angeles Lakers couldn't handle, and they had to keep LeBron in there. LeBron played almost the entire 4th quarter in that game. No minute restriction on him. They needed LeBron to play every single one of those minutes to beat an undermanned Phoenix team. And then you look at their last 2 games, and he's been averaging about 34, 35 minutes in those games as well. So, Mo, I ask you this. I understand that it's probably difficult to manage LeBron's minutes if LeBron doesn't want his minutes managed. I understand that. And that's not where I'm going to take this conversation. Where I'm going to take this conversation is this. LeBron James is 38 years old. He's about to be 39 years old. He's going to be halfway to 40 come playoff time this season. He is still the number 1 option on your team. And we've seen that in the first 4 games this season. When the game is on the line, where's the ball going? When the game is on the line, who is the offense running through? It's not Anthony Davis. And Laker fans can cry to the rooftops about how great Anthony Davis has played the first 3 out of 4 games this season, and he's had great numbers 3 games in a row. Mo, it doesn't change the fact that when the game is on the line, it's not in AD's hands. It's still in LeBron's hands, which means LeBron still has to be on the floor. And I'm not going to sit here and try to take a shot at the greatness that is LeBron James. That's not the game I'm going to play because he is great, Mo. But I have to sit here and say, when your game plan is when the game is on the line and you need it, it's going to be 39-year-old LeBron James. That's where we still are with this. There isn't a plan B yet. And that's what my concern is, Mo, because at some point, we know Father Time is undefeated, and we know LeBron is defying the odds when it comes to that.
Better than anybody ever has.
But, Mo, why isn't there a plan B right now? Why is it 39-year-old LeBron James is going to be the ride or die with this team?
I think the plan B was supposed to be they wanted to put the ball more in Austin Reeves' hands and let Austin Reeves create, because he has the ability to create for himself and others. I thought they wanted to share the ball more with D'Angelo Russell, but coming out the blocks in this season, Austin Reeves has struggled. And I don't know if it's because he feels the pressure of trying to live up to the big contract or he's just off to a slow start. In this current NBA, we can all acknowledge that the game is played outside in. With the exception of the very rare gifted bigs like Jokic and Embiid, and even they step outside. The thing is, though, in this NBA where shooting is at a premium, something else that's at a premium is you have to have guys who can beat people off the dribble, who can create mismatches. And when you look at the Lakers rosters, top to bottom, for all the talk that a lot of other Laker fans have said about how great an offseason they had, they don't have a lot of great shot creators. The truth is, the only shot creator they have that does it on a consistent basis is 38 years old. It's LeBron James. When you take LeBron out, you can go to Anthony Davis, and he's capable of getting you buckets, but the offense becomes very vanilla because no one else can beat one-on-one coverage. No one else is a great shot creator. Last night, it took a monster game from Anthony Davis, from D'Angelo Russell, and LeBron chipped in. I think he had 19 to barely beat a young Orlando Magic team by 1 point. They struggle because they don't have a lot of shot creators. They also struggle because they don't run. They can run you sometimes offensively, but defensively, they struggle against quicker, younger teams. Look at that roster top to bottom. The Lakers as a unit are probably one of the more unathletic teams in the NBA. And the idea to cut LeBron's minutes, it sounds good in theory, but to apply it on the floor with the vast talent that there is throughout the West, it doesn't work that way. The Lakers are 2-2, and it's early in the season, so I'm not going crazy. Some fans probably are, but I think the flaws they had last year, they still have them. They still, like you said, when you pointed out earlier, when you started this conversation, they still rely heavily on LeBron James. LeBron James, like I said, has played the game at a high level better than anybody has ever played. At 38, to me, he's still a top 10 basketball player. And if you listen to the experts, the Lakers have 2 top 10 players. They consider Anthony Davis a top 10 player. My problem is, if you have 2 top 10 players, why is every game a grind? Mm-hmm. Every game is a grind. It's a grind because AD comes and goes. It's a grind because he defers to LeBron, and maybe rightfully so. But if you want to do LeBron a favor, if you want to make it to where they can cut his minutes, we have to have a more assertive Anthony Davis. I don't know if that solves the ultimate problem of shot creation, because you do need more from an Austin Reeves. I thought Austin Reeves was going to have a breakout season, and he may very well still do that. It's early. But right now, LeBron James is having to play a major amount of minutes, and you're right. They're playing with fire, because that's going to come back to bite them down the line. Look at how he looked in the conference finals against Denver in the fourth quarters. He was gassed. And it's because the amount of minutes he played coming up to that point.
Let's jump back to the NFL, Mo. There's a couple games we didn't get to when we were covering Week 8 yesterday. One of those games is the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys rolled. Yes, I said they rolled over the Rams 43-20. And let's be honest, Mo, it wasn't even actually that close. It was a total obliteration of the Rams. If you are the Dallas Cowboys, you're 5-2. You have to feel good about wins like this. It was a great team effort on both sides of the ball, defense, offense, special teams. Everybody chipped in. This is what the Dallas Cowboys look like when they're playing to their fullest potential, Mo. Unfortunately, it does appear that there are certain teams in the NFL that just Dallas doesn't match up well against. And this is the part that I think NFL fans struggle with. And this is the part that I try to present to people, and I try to use logic, Mo. And you know how some people are with logic. It doesn't always work. But the NFL is a matchup league. And you can have a great team, but if you just don't match up well with another team, you're going to struggle. And for whatever reason, Dallas doesn't match up with Philly and San Francisco. And it makes sense because they're basically the same team. Philly is a more talented at the quarterback position version of San Francisco. They are very similar in what they do. So if Dallas doesn't match up well against one, it makes sense they wouldn't match up against the other, and they don't. So as great as Dallas looked, and as great as I think Dallas is going to look record-wise when the season ends, they're going to have to figure out their San Francisco-Philly problem, because they've proven, I mean, I think the last 3 times that Dallas has played San Francisco, they're 0-3. Dak Prescott completes about 55% of his passes. He's looked absolutely horrendous in all 3 games. That's not going away, Mo. So, Dallas, you have every right to feel good about your team heading into Week 9, but you got to figure out that matchup, don't you?
And you said it, it's a matchup league. I really think that when they match up against Philly and the Niners, it's the speed of the defenses that they don't seem to adjust to. When Philly and the Niners are hunting and they're aggressive and their front 7 is on their game, it overwhelms the Cowboys. It overwhelms Dak Prescott. You brought up a great point that a lot of analysts have pointed out, that the Niners don't change up their defense. They don't switch anything. They're very vanilla. And if they come out and they're in a cover 2, they're going to stay in a cover 2. Or if a safety walks up, you can bet they're blitzing. Well, against Dallas, they can show and still get to them, because I think they frustrate Dak with their speed. They struggle. It's funny because you said matchups. I think the Niners struggle in a matchup versus the Eagles, because the Eagles' front 7 speed, it overwhelms their offensive line. When you attack the Niners tackles with speed on the outside, they have a hard time dealing with that. So I do think moving forward, let's assume the Niners right their ship. They're all in the playoffs. The best formula for the Cowboys to go on a deep playoff run is for someone else to knock off San Francisco. It's for someone else to knock off Philly. I agree with you 100%. Should they meet either one of those teams and both teams are 100%, they will lose again.
It would literally be the stars aligning if somehow Dallas makes the playoffs and they don't have to face Philly or San Francisco. If there is a path where that doesn't happen, and I don't have any idea what that path looks like, I mean, it would have to be probably San Francisco missing the playoffs and then the Eagles getting upset early. If that were to happen, Dallas could find themselves in a Super Bowl, because that path where they don't play either of those teams could be a Super Bowl path for them. Mo, I said that I thought the Vikings could get things back on track, and they did. They're 4-4. They've won 3 in a row. The emergence of Addison as a number 1 receiver for them in the absence of Justin Jefferson, and then the crushing blow of losing Kirk Cousins to the Achilles. Cannot catch a break. Rumors coming out yesterday and this morning are that they're looking to get a deal done with the Saints to bring in Jameis Winston potentially to fill that quarterback void. It's a name. It's a name that's probably better than what you have as your backup quarterback right now. It's a name that's had success in the league. He's been to the playoffs before. Mo, it's not Kirk Cousins.
Jameis doesn't lack talent, but if you're a Vikings fan and your biggest bugaboo was that early in this season, Kurt was turning the ball over and things of that nature, you're not going to love Jameis.
No.
For all his talent and all his gifts, his greatest gift, his mutant power, is to turn the football over. So I agree with you. It is an upgrade from what you probably have ready to play right now for you. But going forward, after you've righted this ship, do I believe that Jameis Winston will lead them to the postseason? I do not.
And we'll see. We don't know if that trade is going to get pulled off. There are rumors out there that Justin Jefferson has already been in contact with Jameis Winston, and he's pulling for it to happen. And maybe that's simply because, they did work out this summer. But if you're Justin Jefferson, you know what's in the building behind Kirk Cousins. So if you know what's in the building and you're like, that ain't it.
and you're already talking to him.
Right. Maybe Jameis, is in Justin Jefferson's mind the saving grace because you know what you have if you're Justin Jefferson. So,
I love great sports stories. If Jameis can turn it around and he took them on an incredible run, nobody would enjoy that more than me.
Also, this past weekend, we saw the Miami Dolphins move to 6-2, knocking off the New England Patriots. Tua Tagovailoa is now 6-0. 6-0 in his career against Bill Belichick. And let me remind you, folks, no one else has done that. No other starting quarterback in the NFL in Bill Belichick's 29 years of coaching has won 6 games against him. Not even the great Josh Allen in Buffalo, who has had some pretty lopsided victories against the Patriots. He hasn't won 6 games. He's currently 5-5. So, it's a matchup league, Mo. And for whatever reason, the Dolphins match up really well with the Patriots. And the Dolphins even matched up well with the Patriots when Tom Brady was there. If you looked at Tom Brady's record against the Dolphins as compared to the other teams in the division, it was a lot worse again. Now, it was still good. Don't get me wrong. Right. I'm not saying the Dolphins had a winning record against Tom Brady. But if you're looking at his record against the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins had a lot more wins against Tom Brady because for whatever reason, the Dolphins just match up better against Bill Belichick teams for some reason. And again, this feeds into not my theory, this feeds into my belief that the NFL is so much more predicated on the matchups than people want to give credit to. But Miami moves to 6-2. Tyreek hit the mark. He got his receiving record for the first 8 games. Impressive. Waddle went off in that game. And Mo, I will tell you this, and people are finally starting to talk about it. As a Dolphin fan, I've seen it for the past season. It's the cheetah effect. And you saw the cheetah effect at the end of that game. The Dolphins were up by 7. It was late in the game. They were driving. They were looking to put the game away. And what happened? Tyreek goes in motion across the formation. The defense freaks out because they don't want Tyreek to beat them. They want to make sure Tyreek is covered. So what happens? They leave Jalen Waddle wide open over the middle to walk into the end zone for a 33-yard touchdown. And it was all Tyreek because Tyreek took his man and he took Jalen's man with him because Jalen's man wasn't sure whether or not he was supposed to have Tyreek. And he freaked out and he went with Tyreek because in his mind, Tyreek can't beat us. And you know that's what teams say when they prepare to play Miami. You know they circle Tyreek and they say, put a butt on him. We are not losing this game because of Tyreek Hill. Make another one of these receivers beat us. And you know it's drilled over and over and over again when you're prepared to play the Dolphins. So what happens when you get into these crunch time situations? Your guys in the field are saying to themselves, Tyreek's not going to beat us. Tyreek's not going to beat us. Then Tyreek starts running around and things like this happen, Mo. It's the cheetah effect.
I like the cheetah effect name. Look, like I said, I don't disagree. I think you and JG and I talked about this last week, that when you rank wide receivers, no, Tyreek doesn't have that classic build of a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver that can go attack the football in the air at its highest point, or use his body to shield off defenders in those one-on-one kind of situations. He's not that guy, but I still think he's the most feared wide receiver. They're different things, but I think he's the most feared wide receiver in football because, like you said, wherever he goes, the defense shifts. And even when they drop back the pass and he's not the primary on the play, when he runs hard, he draws defenders. I think Tyreek Hill, I like the cheetah effect. He is the most feared deep threat I've seen in the NFL in years. And like I said, there are different types of wide receivers. There are. But when you control him, or you say you control him, and he's had 11 catches for 110 yards, and you feel good about that, that's interesting to me because you say you've controlled him. He's very unique in that way. What makes him even more unique is you can control him the whole game, one slip up, and it's to the house. And that's what makes him unique. I'm not saying he can't be covered. We can't, not one-on-one he can, but he can't be covered. But there are different coverages if you go cover 3 or you roll everything to him or keep him in front of you, which is always the goal, keep him in front of you. But it's so much easier said than executed. The key to beating the Miami Dolphins is not to try to cover Tyreek Hill, it's to get to Tua.
Yep, 100%.
If you want to beat Miami, get to Tua.
Yep, don't worry about Tyreek. Tyreek's going to do his thing.
He is. Get to Tua.
Mo, there is no team going into Week 9 in the NFL that needs to be slapped in the face harder than the New York Jets. I am sorry, Mo. This is not a good football team. This is a team that the Giants did not want to win that game. I don't know if the Giants decided in the last 40 seconds of that game that they wanted to tank this season and that they needed to lose this game to be a part of the tank job, because I have never seen a team give away a win the way I've seen the New York Giants give away that win to the New York Jets. The New York Giants were going to win this game with -8 passing yards. They were about to find a way to win a game with no passing game whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they allow Zach Wilson to start making play after play. And no, I am not going to give Zach Wilson credit for that because the Giants defense shut him down the entire game. So I'm not going to sit here and say Zach Wilson carved him up in the end. No, let's be honest. The Giants defense just stopped playing football in the end. It was inexcusable. And some of it wasn't even Zach Wilson making plays. So a huge part of it was that 40-yard pass interference play that didn't need to happen because the ball was 6 yards over the guy's head. That wasn't even a good throw by Zach Wilson. He got bailed out by a stupid defender on the New York Giants defense. So, Jet fan, you can be as confident as you want. Your team is 4-3. I am shocked they are 4-3. Bravo to you for being 4-3. You're not playing the Giants every week. So
I blame the Giants coaching staff on that game. The Giants coaching staff, they lost that game. That's not on the players. That's on the offensive coordinator, because I get it. You're down your second quarterback, but you have to allow the third quarterback to play football. You got to let him play football. They literally said on 3rd and long, you know what, it's 3rd and long. We're still just going to hand it to Saquon. And the Jets knew it. The Jets knew it. I mean, their offense basically was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And that, I mean, they stopped trying to win the game and they started trying to not lose the game, period.
I also put it on the Giants because you know who Tyrod Taylor is. And Tyrod Taylor is a quarterback with an injury history. So when Tyrod becomes your starter and you know he's going to be starting a few games, you need to go out and get yourself a competent backup for Tyrod, because it's not out of the realm of possibility that Tyrod might get hurt. And I don't know who this kid was. That's their third string quarterback. But Mo, he is not an NFL quarterback. He simply is not. Mo, they stopped trying to throw the ball because he literally couldn't throw the ball, Mo. Like, he was not, he is not ready for that spot, and you need to be better prepared.
I felt sorry for him. You could tell, even through his helmet, he was scared, man. Look, I felt bad for the kid. Like, you could tell, like, when Tyrod got hurt, and they called him out, and he said, "Who, me? Like, I'm going in." Like, there's no way he was ready for that moment. And I get it. The coaches were like, "How about this? Just hand the ball off. Just hand the ball off."
There was a stretch of plays late in the second quarter, because he basically stopped throwing after that. But there was a stretch of plays late in the second quarter where he hadn't thrown the ball, and the fans are chanting for him to throw the ball. And he comes out on first down. He throws a swing pass to Barkley coming out of the backfield. The announcers are like, "Oh, he's going to throw the ball." It gets like 2 yards. He comes out on the second play. They run the exact same play again for a loss of a yard. And the announcers are like, "Oh, he's just going to keep throwing a Barkley out of the backfield."
Right.
They come out on 3rd and 11, and he tries to throw a screen pass to Barkley, who's still blocking while the pass is thrown.
Right.
That right there showed you the skill set of this young quarterback, and it was a disaster.
It was tough to watch. And look, I don't blame him. I blame the coaching staff. You're the coaches. You should be coaching this guy up. But more importantly, the plays that you call, I feel like you set the young man up for failure, period.
Mo, great morning as always with you, despite our technical difficulties that we had this morning. Always great to have JG on the show.
Always.
The NFL genius, Gene from Wire to Wire. He is going to be on the show tomorrow to talk some NFL stuff. Will is going to be on the show tomorrow to talk some NBA stuff. Mo, close us out, sir.
Hey, thanks for everybody for checking us out. Smash that like button. Share this. If you're coming home from work or a friend might want to check us out later, check out all the great content that Sports Empire Network offers to you. Check out the Empire.
We'll be back same time, same place for your Wednesday morning right here on Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. Make sure you're tuning in same time, same place tomorrow morning, and we'll see you then.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any